Hey listeners, this is episode 75. I think you're really going to like it. A strong message came through about how to deepen in the many layers of surrender, how to become more present in your daily lives. And when we surrender, we are at our most powerful state, as we've already learned. So check out this episode. I'm sure you'll love it. There's also an exclusive portion to this episode with a very useful exercise in surrender that I hope you all take advantage of. Become an angel donor for us, and I'm trying to get at least 10 more angel donors by May 1st, our 3rd anniversary of the podcast. So join in that and get all the exclusive content and exercises. With that, enjoy the show.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical Podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci, here to remind all the earthlings that they are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. Today, I'm going to be talking about surrender, the different levels and layers of surrender. A lot of beautiful messages came through, and I also received a very beautiful way of going through an exercise, if you will, of going through different levels and layers of surrender to release fear and step more into your power. That exercise is included in the exclusive content for this episode, which I'll talk about more at the end of the episode. I hope you enjoy it, and let's jump right in. Are you ready? Let's get meta. Masters and angels, I request your presence for this transmission. I request your support. Please allow me to be a vessel through which you speak with the highest vibrations of love and kindness and truth. And please let all of us receive these messages and transmissions with the highest vibration of love, understanding, and truth. Thank you with gratitude and full faith. I find myself asking these days, how many more layers of surrender is there? Surrender is a topic that I've spoken about before on the podcast. It is a topic that has been very present for me, particularly through these last 12 months. And I would guess that it is a topic that has been on people's minds around the world over the last 12 months, maybe more. And it just so happens that last year, every year on New Year's Eve, I choose a word, or I allow a word to come to me that is going to characterize the next year, the coming year. And my word for 2020 was surrender, having no idea about what was about to take place for the world. But now we're in 2021. And just for those of you who are curious, my word for 2021 that came through is breakthrough. So we will see if that bears any resemblance to what is going to happen this year. But surrender, there are seemingly endless layers of surrender happening right now in my personal life and potentially in yours and for the collective. I had an experience one time over a year ago now. It was my last, probably ever, experience with plant medicine And many of you listening know that I don't advocate for plant medicine. And I've used very little plant medicine in my life. I can count that on two hands. And I had really powerful experiences when I did use plant medicine. And you know what? I think sometime I'm going to have to do an episode about the truth about plant medicine, because that's been knocking at the door a lot recently. But the reason I bring it up is because I had a very powerful experience the last time that I was using plant medicine, and it had to do with surrender. The whole journey felt like never-ending moments that I kept surrendering into. It felt like a very long, extended experience of continual surrender. And every moment I felt like I reached a complete moment of surrender, then it would go deeper and turn into something else that I also fell into and surrendered to. And maybe I'm not doing this experience justice in the way that I'm trying to describe it. It was, after all, a plant medicine experience. So for those of you, who have used plant medicine before, it can be very difficult to explain and share those experiences. But it was a very profound thing, because what it showed me is just how there seems to be no bottom to surrender. There's always more that you can give up. And one of my recent episodes, I talk about surrender and how it is your most powerful state. Your most powerful state of being is surrender. And that it also really talks about letting go of control. That is a huge part of what surrender actually is. It's letting go of control. It's letting go of thinking that you're right, or thinking that you know, or that you know the answer to something. It's letting go of so many things. And lately, what I've been experiencing, and what I've seen loved ones around me experiencing, and even the collective as a whole experiencing, is utmost surrender on deeper and deeper and deeper levels and layers. The prospect of losing things or people that mean something to you, whether it is a business, a platform, a partner, a parent, a child, a sibling, a home, a piece of land, a community, a job, a purpose, something that you feel like you came here for. And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The prospect of losing any of these things is an experience of bringing one to their knees, and almost forces a vibration of surrender. Because so many of these things, if not all of these things, if we're being honest, you can't control. You can't control. And so being faced with these things in our lives, and maybe even more so now, is really forcing us to almost break open. I've personally felt my heart being rather broken open by all of the transformations happening so far just this year. But the different layers of surrender and the different understandings that you're really not in control of anything, and that you could lose any one or all of these things, all of these people, all of these places, communities, jobs, homes, etc. It really breaks one open at some point. And you can fight it and try to control this and try to save that and try to do this and that. But at some point, you just let go. At some point, it's out of your hands. It's in the universe's hands, if you believe in that sort of thing, which obviously I do. And it breaks you open. And so I've been doing a practice lately of really allowing myself to play out all of these different scenarios. What would happen if I lost this job, this platform, this parent, this child, this person, this home, and really go into that and play it out and allow the fear to rise within you so that it can be acknowledged and expressed and move through and out of your field and your system and your cellular memory and your auric field. And as I'm saying this, it's as though that is what is being demanded of us right now, is to surrender so much, to let go so much, to break open so much that the light can come in and burn away any of the fear behind the things that we are afraid to surrender. I think Rumi had a quote about the wound is where the light enters you. And I always liked that quote, and it just resonated with me on a different level. The idea of losing something, of having to surrender a person, place, or thing to the universe, for lack of a better way to explain or express that, those are wounds. Any fear that's hidden behind that, those are wounds, and we can break open and really allow that fear and unease and untrust, because it all comes back to not trusting. At least that's my own experience. Fear really goes back to not trusting in the universe or a higher power or God, or however you want to use that language. The root of fear is not trusting. That's my experience. What's your experience? I'm curious. And so if that's true, then we get to surrender our fear even. Maybe you would like to go into this exercise of really allowing yourself, your heart, your mind, your soul to go to the places that you fear surrendering the most and play it out in your head. Just play it out in your imagination. What would it feel like? What would it look like? What would you think? What would you do? Who would step forward to support you? What would you do next? There's a storm going on around me as I'm talking right now. I wonder if you can hear it. And I love storms because, especially the loud ones with the loud thunder and the really bright lightning, they kind of remind me that I have no control over things like the weather and, climate events, and, the earth is massively more powerful than any one of us. And we're just visitors here. And it's a good reminder that we don't have to keep fighting for control. I could not make this storm stop if I tried. It would be useless for me to do that. It would be useless for me to try and stop the thunder from booming and the lightning from cracking across the sky. And so it is with so many things in our lives. And so we get to break open, and then we get to break open again and more and further and further and further until we can become fully present in the now, fully present in the now moment that you are in. And that is part of my journey. At the moment, it's part of what my guidance has been bringing through for me personally to work on, is becoming incredibly, incredibly present, because that is what is required of me right now. And that may be your journey as well. In my last episode, it was very much a message of remembering who you are and remembering why you came here. And my guidance for me right now is a big part of that is to become as present in every moment as I can. And I am not perfect at it. It takes a lot of work and focus to be present in every moment and to harness that monkey mind, as many people call it, from thinking about the next thing or the thing that you had done before or could have done better or could have said differently, or how you made this mistake, or what it is going to be like next week when you have to do this thing or talk to this person, or making arrangements for a month from now when you have to travel somewhere, etc. And of course, there is a certain amount of those things that happen naturally, and there's a certain amount of those things that are needing to be done, and they become present at the time that they're supposed to. And then if at that present moment it is time for you to buy your flight, then that is what is happening at that present moment, and you can be fully present in buying your flight for your journey that takes place in a month. I've realized that putting my thoughts on future events that have not yet arrived is a waste of my energy in almost every circumstance that I can think of, to be honest, unless it is time for me to make a decision about these said future things, such as buying a flight or, making some other form of arrangement. But if I'm thinking about things in the future that I'm not actually being called to make a decision on in this present moment, I'm kind of wasting my energy, and I'm not being present with what is in front of me at that moment. Now, this might sound really simple to you. Maybe you all have figured this out, and I am late to the game, which is very often the case, and that's okay. But that's what I just realized. I don't feel like I dwell on the past too much. I feel like for me that fuss, that racket is usually thinking about future things, but I'm sure it goes both ways. There are some circumstances in my life right now that I'm very grateful for because they are forcing me to be very present where I am and with the people around me. And it's a very beautiful training for me. And this is what's coming through to share today for whatever reason. Whoever's listening to this, whoever felt emboldened to press play and stick through it until now, I'm sure you're supposed to hear this on some level, because this is a practice. Even though I'm talking about this right now, I can't necessarily press a button or decide that I will be fully present in every moment, even though that's my desire and my intention. It takes work. It takes practice. And I feel that the reason I'm sharing this right now is because it's coming into consciousness, not just for me, but for the collective on some level, and certainly for those who I am meant to reach with my voice, with this podcast, with this episode, with whatever. Surrendering your fears, surrendering in every moment that you have something to surrender to. There will be little things, little baby things that will crop up so that you can practice. Like, oh, you need toothpaste and you go to the store and they don't have your kind of toothpaste and you just need to pick something that's there because you don't have time or energy to go and find your toothpaste. So you get that. That's maybe a bad example. I mean, everyone can just order on Amazon whatever they want now. But there's going to be little examples for you, little baby surrenders, and maybe medium teenage surrenders, and then very big adult surrenders, and beyond and beyond and beyond. But to become present enough to understand when that's happening, to allow yourself to play those feelings out and those visualizations out so you don't have to hold on to them and carry them somewhere in your body where they're causing you stress or discomfort or pain or anxiety or a mental situation, etc. Allowing yourself to be in a comfortable, safe place and to let any of that fear arise and to sink deeper into surrender so that you can let go of that fear and become more present in your now moment. That's the message coming through today. That is the message coming through today that they wanted me to share with you. There's so many ways to do this. I suggest being still and letting whatever situation is forefront in your mind to arise, and ask yourself if there's any fears attached to that situation, and allow yourself to go there. What is the fear in that situation? What is the quote unquote worst case scenario there? How can you surrender? How can you break yourself open more and more so that your heart comes out and you can feel and experience more and be more present with that person, that place, that thing, that moment, that job? I'm sure that you can tell if you are a regular listener of the podcast that we're being asked a lot right now as a collective. A lot is being asked of us. And so it seems that when I sit down to record an episode, what comes through is the message that is needed for that moment of time for a certain group of people. Only for a certain group of people. And whoever needs to hear it will hear it. So for those of you who are part of needing to hear this message at this time, let's do this. Keep moving forward. Keep knowing and looking for and becoming aware in every moment of what you can surrender next. Can you surrender an idea, a belief system, a need to be right? Can you surrender words that you wanted to say but maybe shouldn't? Can you surrender to a situation that may take a loved one from you? Can you surrender a beloved home or job or pet or place? At least in your mind, right? And allow those feelings to come up because, again, surrender is your most powerful state. And it's one that we can practice if we become present enough to be aware in every moment what is occurring for us. And we can become better, more surrendered as a state of being, more present, and ultimately more powerful, so that we can move forward and be of service in the ways that were written for us for this incarnation on this planet. I'll leave the message and transmission part of this episode there for today. Masters and angels, thank you for allowing this message to come through me. Please help it to reach whoever it needs to reach with ease and grace. Thank you with gratitude and full faith. Bless creation. I want to thank you all for joining me for this transmission, for this episode. I also, as I mentioned before, received a very lovely exercise of how to go deeper into surrender and allow those feelings to come up and to be released. I have included this in the exclusive part of this episode, which you can find at patreon.com/up and awaken. All angel donors to the Up and Awaken Patreon have access to all of our exclusive content. And there's actually only, somewhere between 10 and 15 episodes out of the 75 that I've done that do not include bonus or exclusive content. So you get access to all of those. And this was a really lovely exercise that came through. So check it out if you are at all interested at patreon.com/up and awaken. Any tier will do. Thank you so much for listening. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up and Awaken production. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. If you are ready to raise your vibration, you might enjoy our free master clearing. To receive the master clearing or to learn more about the podcast, visit letsgetmeta.com. The show is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci, co-creator of Up and Awaken Productions. To access more awakening content, to join our membership community, or to become one of our angel donors, please visit upandawaken.com. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.